Lieutenant Sarah Martinez stepped into the briefing room at Forward Operating Base Phoenix, her boots clicking against the concrete floor with measured precision. The morning sun cast harsh shadows through the small windows, illuminating the faces of 24 soldiers gathered around the central table. Maps covered every surface, marked with red zones and tactical positions that would determine the success or failure of their next mission. Sarah had earned her place in this room through 4 years of military academy excellence and 18 months of exemplary field service. Her record spoke volumes about her capabilities as a communications specialist and tactical coordinator. Yet as she entered the space filled predominantly with male officers, she felt the familiar weight of scrutiny that had followed her throughout her military career. The mission briefing concerned a high-priority extraction in hostile territory. Intelligence reports indicated that a downed pilot was trapped behind enemy lines, and time was running out. Sarah had spent the previous night analyzing communication patterns and developing a coordination strategy that could save precious minutes during the operation. Her proposal involved using advanced frequency hopping techniques to maintain contact with the extraction team while avoiding enemy detection. Colonel James Harrison stood at the head of the table, his weathered face displaying the kind of authority that came from decades of military service. He had seen combat in 3 different theaters and commanded respect from every soldier under his leadership. When he spoke, people listened. When he made decisions, they were followed without question. As the briefing began, various officers presented their tactical assessments. The infantry captain outlined the ground approach routes. The air support coordinator detailed helicopter insertion points. The intelligence officer provided updated enemy positions and movement patterns. Each presentation built upon the previous one, creating a comprehensive picture of the challenges they would face. When Sarah's turn arrived, she stood confidently and began explaining her communication protocol. Her voice was clear and professional as she detailed the technical aspects of maintaining secure contact during the operation. She had anticipated potential interference patterns and developed backup communication channels that would ensure mission success, even if primary systems failed. The room fell silent as she spoke, but not the respectful silence that typically accompanied tactical presentations. Instead, Sarah noticed sideways glances and barely suppressed smirks among some of the officers. Her expertise in advanced communication systems was being overshadowed by something far more superficial. Major Thompson, a veteran infantry officer with a reputation for blunt commentary, was the first to voice his skepticism. His weathered hands gestured dismissively toward Sarah's carefully prepared diagrams as he questioned whether someone with her limited field experience could truly understand the complexities of combat operations. His tone carried an undercurrent of condescension that made several other officers shift uncomfortably in their seats. The criticism escalated when Captain Rodriguez joined the discussion. He questioned whether Sarah's technical knowledge would hold up under the pressure of actual combat conditions. His comments suggested that academic understanding and real-world application were entirely different matters. The implication was clear. Regardless of her qualifications, she lacked the practical experience necessary for such a critical mission. Lieutenant Colonel Peterson added his voice to the growing chorus of doubt. He pointed out that previous communication specialists had struggled during high-stress operations, suggesting that Sarah might face similar challenges. His observations carried weight due to his extensive combat experience, but they also revealed an underlying assumption about her capabilities based on factors beyond her actual qualifications. The mockery became more apparent as the discussion continued. Officers began questioning not just her technical proposals, but her fundamental understanding of military operations. Someone mentioned that communication work was typically handled from secure locations rather than forward positions, implying that she lacked the courage for frontline deployment. Another officer suggested that her presence might actually compromise the mission by requiring additional protection resources. Sarah maintained her composure throughout these exchanges, responding to technical questions with detailed explanations while ignoring the personal attacks. Her professional demeanor never wavered, even as the criticism became increasingly personal rather than tactical. She understood that showing emotion or defensiveness would only validate their preconceptions about her suitability for combat operations. The discussion reached a particularly uncomfortable moment when Major Thompson openly questioned whether someone of Sarah's background could handle the psychological pressure of combat communications. His words carried implications that went far beyond professional assessment, touching on stereotypes that had plagued women in military service for generations. The room's atmosphere grew tense as other officers either nodded in agreement or looked away uncomfortably. Captain Miller, known for his crude humor, made a comment about Sarah needing special accommodations during field operations. His suggestion that she might require different equipment or modified procedures drew nervous laughter from some officers while others frowned at the inappropriate nature of his remarks. The professional atmosphere of the briefing was deteriorating into something resembling a fraternity hazing rather than a serious military discussion. Throughout this ordeal, Colonel Harrison remained silent, observing the interaction with an unreadable expression. His penetrating gaze moved from speaker to speaker, taking in not just their words but their underlying motivations. Years of leadership experience had taught him to recognize when professional criticism crossed the line into personal prejudice. Sarah's technical presentation had been thorough and well-researched. Her communication protocols addressed genuine tactical concerns and offered innovative solutions to complex problems. The frequency-hopping techniques she proposed could provide significant advantages during the extraction operation. Her backup communication systems demonstrated forward-thinking preparation for potential equipment failures or enemy interference. The irony of the situation was not lost on Colonel Harrison. The same officers who were questioning Sarah's capabilities had limited understanding of the advanced communication technologies she was proposing. Their expertise lay in traditional infantry tactics and conventional weapons systems, not the sophisticated electronic warfare that increasingly defined modern military operations. As the mockery continued, Sarah began providing specific examples of how her communication protocols had succeeded in previous operations. She referenced documented cases where proper frequency management had prevented mission compromise and saved lives. Her examples were factual and verifiable, drawn from actual field reports rather than theoretical scenarios. Major Thompson dismissed these examples as irrelevant to their current situation. He argued that each mission presented unique challenges that couldn't be addressed through textbook solutions. His criticism ignored the fact that Sarah's protocols were based on adaptive principles rather than rigid procedures. The flexibility built into her communication systems was specifically designed to handle unexpected battlefield conditions. The discussion took another negative turn when Captain Rodriguez questioned whether Sarah could maintain communication discipline under enemy fire. He suggested that panic or confusion might lead her to compromise operational security by transmitting inappropriate information. His concerns reflected assumptions about psychological resilience, rather than objective assessment of her training and experience. Sarah responded by detailing the stress testing protocols she had undergone during her communications training. She described simulated combat scenarios where communication specialists were required to maintain operational effectiveness while under extreme pressure. Her performance records in these exercises were exemplary, demonstrating her ability to function effectively in high-stress environments. These facts seemed to have little impact on her critics. Lieutenant Colonel Peterson shifted the focus to physical requirements, questioning whether Sarah could carry the necessary communication equipment while keeping pace with infantry units during rapid deployment scenarios. His concerns about equipment weight and mobility revealed limited understanding of modern communication technology, which had become increasingly lightweight and portable. The briefing room atmosphere became increasingly uncomfortable as the criticism continued. Several junior officers who had initially remained silent began adding their own concerns, emboldened by the senior officers' open skepticism. Their comments ranged from logistical concerns to outright suggestions that Sarah's presence would distract male soldiers from their duties. Colonel Harrison's expression darkened as he listened to these exchanges. His military career had been built on merit-based assessment and professional competence. The idea that qualified personnel might be excluded from critical operations based on irrelevant personal characteristics ran counter to everything he believed about military effectiveness and leadership responsibility. The situation reached a breaking point when Major Thompson suggested that Sarah should be assigned to rear-area communication duties rather than forward deployment. His proposal effectively excluded her from the most critical aspects of the mission, despite her specialized expertise in the exact technologies that could ensure its success. The suggestion revealed the underlying prejudice that had been driving the entire discussion. Sarah's response was measured but firm. She acknowledged the physical and psychological demands of combat operations while emphasizing her extensive training and proven competence in handling these challenges. Her voice remained steady as she outlined her qualifications and demonstrated her understanding of the mission's tactical requirements. The technical aspects of her presentation were unassailable. Her communication protocols addressed genuine operational needs and offered measurable advantages over conventional approaches. The frequency coordination she proposed could prevent the kind of communication failures that had compromised previous missions. Her backup systems provided redundancy that could save lives if primary communication channels were disrupted. Despite the quality of her technical presentation, the criticism continued. Officers raised concerns about integration challenges, suggesting that incorporating her communication protocols would require extensive coordination training that they didn't have time to complete. These objections ignored the fact that Sarah's systems were designed to work seamlessly with existing military communication procedures. The meeting's dynamics revealed deeper issues within the unit's culture. Professional assessment was being overshadowed by personal prejudices that had nothing to do with military effectiveness. The officers' concerns reflected assumptions about gender roles rather than objective evaluation of tactical capabilities and mission requirements. Colonel Harrison had heard enough. The discussion had devolved from legitimate tactical assessment into something that undermined the military's fundamental principles of merit-based evaluation and mission-focused decision-making. The officers' behavior was not only unprofessional, but potentially harmful to operational effectiveness. As the criticism reached its peak, with multiple officers speaking simultaneously about their concerns regarding Sarah's deployment, Colonel Harrison stood slowly from his chair. His movement commanded immediate attention, and the room fell silent as all eyes turned toward him. The authority in his posture made it clear that the discussion was about to take a decisive turn. The silence stretched for several long moments as Colonel Harrison surveyed the faces around the table. His expression revealed nothing about his thoughts, but the intensity of his gaze made several officers shift uncomfortably. When he finally spoke, his words would change the entire trajectory of the mission and everyone's understanding of what true leadership meant in the modern military. Colonel Harrison's voice cut through the briefing room's silence like a blade through silk. His words were measured, deliberate, and carried the weight of absolute authority that had been earned through decades of exemplary service and countless life-or-death decisions in hostile territories around the world. "Put her in the Blackhawk." The 4 words hung in the air like a thunderclap, creating a stunned silence that seemed to freeze every person in the room. Officers who had been openly mocking Sarah's qualifications moments earlier now sat rigid in their chairs, their expressions shifting from confident skepticism to shocked disbelief. The casual atmosphere of dismissive commentary evaporated instantly, replaced by the stark reality of military hierarchy and command authority. Major Thompson's mouth opened slightly as if to voice another objection, but the intensity in Colonel Harrison's eyes made him reconsider. Years of military experience had taught him to recognize when a superior officer had made an irrevocable decision, and this was clearly one of those moments. The colonel's body language conveyed absolute certainty and an unwillingness to entertain further debate about the matter. The briefing room's atmosphere underwent a complete transformation. Officers who had been lounging casually in their chairs now sat at attention, recognizing that their commanding officer was about to deliver guidance that would reshape their understanding of the mission parameters. The maps and tactical displays remained unchanged, but their significance had been altered by the colonel's unexpected directive. Colonel Harrison continued speaking, his voice maintaining the same authoritative tone that had commanded respect on battlefields across 3 continents. He began by addressing the technical merits of Sarah's communication proposals, demonstrating that he had been listening carefully to every detail of her presentation, while others had been focused on irrelevant personal characteristics. The frequency hopping protocols she had outlined would provide crucial advantages during the extraction operation. Enemy forces in the region had demonstrated sophisticated electronic warfare capabilities, regularly intercepting and jamming conventional military communications. Sarah's proposed techniques would make their transmissions nearly impossible to detect or disrupt, ensuring that the extraction team could maintain contact with command throughout the operation. Her backup communication systems addressed a critical vulnerability that had plagued previous missions in the area. Equipment failures and enemy interference had repeatedly compromised operations, sometimes with tragic consequences. Sarah's redundant communication channels and alternative frequency allocations would provide the reliability necessary for mission success in such a challenging environment. Colonel Harrison's analysis went beyond technical specifications to address operational realities. The extraction zone was located in mountainous terrain that created natural communication dead spots and signal reflection problems. ASAR's protocols included specific adjustments for these geographical challenges, using relay techniques and signal-boosting methods that could maintain contact even in the most difficult terrain conditions. The psychological aspects of the mission also required consideration. The downed pilot had been behind enemy lines for over 48 hours, facing constant threat of capture or elimination. Maintaining reliable communication during the extraction would be crucial for coordinating timing and ensuring that rescue efforts weren't compromised by miscommunication or equipment failures at critical moments. Colonel Harrison methodically addressed each concern that had been raised during the briefing, but his approach focused on mission effectiveness rather than personal prejudices. When he discussed physical requirements, he referenced specific equipment weights and mobility standards that Sarah had already demonstrated her ability to meet. Her training record showed performance levels that exceeded minimum requirements for forward deployment operations. The integration challenges that officers had raised were addressed through detailed examination of Sarah's communication protocols. Her systems were designed to work seamlessly with existing military procedures, requiring minimal additional training for team members. The interfaces she had developed used familiar command structures and terminology, ensuring that other personnel could operate effectively without extensive relearning. Colonel Harrison's presentation revealed the depth of his own technical knowledge, surprising many officers who had primarily known him for his tactical leadership and combat experience. His questions about frequency allocation and signal propagation demonstrated sophisticated understanding of modern communication technology and its applications in military operations. The strategic implications of the mission extended beyond simple personnel extraction. Intelligence reports suggested that the downed pilot possessed critical information about enemy positions and capabilities. Successful rescue could provide valuable tactical advantages for future operations in the region. Failure would not only result in the loss of valuable personnel, but might also compromise ongoing intelligence gathering efforts. Enemy forces had demonstrated increasing sophistication in their anti-aircraft capabilities, making traditional extraction approaches extremely dangerous. The communication protocols Sarah had developed could enable more flexible tactical approaches, allowing the extraction team to adapt their methods based on real-time intelligence and changing battlefield conditions. Colonel Harrison outlined a modified mission structure that would maximize Sarah's contributions while addressing legitimate operational concerns. Her primary responsibility would focus on maintaining communication links between the extraction team, air support elements, and command headquarters. This role would place her in forward positions, where her expertise could have maximum impact on mission success. The Blackhawk helicopter assignment was not arbitrary or symbolic. The aircraft's advanced communication systems required specialized operators who understood both the technical capabilities and tactical applications of modern military communication technology. Sarah's training and experience made her uniquely qualified to coordinate complex multi-platform operations from the aircraft's communication station. Colonel Harrison addressed the psychological pressure aspects that had been raised during the briefing. Combat stress affected all military personnel, regardless of background or experience. But proper training and preparation could minimize its impact on operational effectiveness. Sarah's stress testing records demonstrated her ability to maintain professional competence under extreme pressure conditions. The mission timeline required immediate deployment, leaving no opportunity for extensive additional training or gradual integration of new procedures. This reality made Sarah's experience with adaptive communication protocols even more valuable. Her ability to implement effective solutions quickly could mean the difference between mission success and catastrophic failure. Security considerations also supported Colonel Harrison's decision. Enemy forces had been monitoring conventional military communication patterns, potentially compromising operational security for traditional extraction approaches. Sarah's innovative frequency management techniques would make their communications virtually invisible to enemy detection systems, providing crucial tactical advantages. The geographical challenges of the extraction zone demanded sophisticated communication solutions. Mountain terrain created unpredictable signal propagation patterns that required real-time adjustment of transmission parameters. Sarah's training included specific expertise in handling these environmental variables, ensuring reliable contact throughout the operation. Colonel Harrison's analysis extended to equipment compatibility and redundancy requirements. The mission would involve coordination between ground forces, helicopter units. Sarah's communication protocols have been designed to manage these complex multi-platform operations, providing seamless integration between different military systems. The time-critical nature of the extraction emphasized the importance of reliable communication. Weather conditions in the target area were deteriorating, and enemy search activities were intensifying. Any communication failures or delays could result in mission compromise and potential loss of both the original pilot and the rescue team members. Colonel Harrison addressed concerns about team dynamics and operational integration by referencing Sarah's previous collaborative work with various military units. Her ability to function effectively as part of diverse teams had been documented in multiple operational assessments, demonstrating professional competence that transcended personal characteristics. The strategic value of demonstrating advanced communication capabilities extended beyond the immediate mission. Enemy forces were constantly adapting their countermeasures, and showcasing new tactical approaches could provide intelligence about their detection capabilities, while establishing operational advantages for future missions. Medical evacuation considerations also supported the assignment decision. If the extraction encountered casualties or medical emergencies, reliable communication with medical support units would be essential. Sarah's protocols included specific provisions for coordinating medical evacuation procedures, potentially saving lives if complications arose during the operation. The briefing room remained silent as Colonel Harrison concluded his analysis. His comprehensive examination of mission requirements had demolished every objection raised during the earlier discussion, replacing prejudice-based concerns with objective assessment of operational necessities and tactical advantages. Officers who had confidently questioned Sarah's qualifications now found themselves reconsidering their assumptions. Colonel Harrison's detailed analysis had revealed the superficial nature of their concerns while highlighting genuine mission requirements that Sarah's expertise could address more effectively than conventional approaches. The transformation in the room's atmosphere was palpable. What had begun as a routine briefing with predictable personnel assignments had become a masterclass in professional military assessment and leadership decision-making. Colonel Harrison had demonstrated how personal prejudices could be overcome through objective evaluation of capabilities and mission requirements. As the silence continued, Sarah maintained her professional composure while processing the significance of what had just occurred. The colonel's decision represented more than just mission assignment. It was a validation of merit-based evaluation and a rejection of the discrimination she had faced throughout her military career. The briefing was about to continue with detailed operational planning, but the dynamic had fundamentally changed. What happened next would determine whether the officers could adapt their attitudes to match their commanding officer's professional standards, or if the mission would proceed despite ongoing interpersonal tensions that could compromise operational effectiveness. The Blackhawk helicopter's rotors created a thunderous rhythm that vibrated through Sarah's body as she adjusted her communication equipment one final time. The aircraft's interior was cramped but efficiently organized, with every piece of equipment serving a specific purpose in the complex extraction operation ahead. Through the small window, she could see the rugged mountain landscape that concealed both their target and numerous enemy positions. Captain Williams, the pilot, had initially expressed skepticism about having Sarah aboard his aircraft. His concerns focused primarily on the unknown variable she represented in what was already a dangerous mission. However, Colonel Harrison's explicit orders left no room for debate, and Williams had accepted the assignment with professional resignation, if not enthusiasm.
Scene.
The flight to the extraction zone would take 47 minutes, providing Sarah with time to establish preliminary communication links and test her frequency hopping protocols under actual flight conditions. The helicopter's movement created unique signal propagation challenges that differed significantly from ground-based testing, requiring real-time adjustments to maintain optimal transmission quality. As they lifted off from Forward Operating Base Phoenix, Sarah began implementing her communication procedures. The first challenge involved establishing contact with the ground team that was already moving toward the extraction coordinates. Traditional military radios were experiencing interference from enemy jamming equipment, but Sarah's frequency hopping techniques quickly circumvented these disruption attempts. Lieutenant Rodriguez, leading the ground team, was surprised when clear communication suddenly replaced the static and interference that had been plaguing their radios. Sarah's voice came through with crystal clarity as she provided updated intelligence about enemy positions and movement patterns. Her ability to coordinate multiple information sources while maintaining secure transmission impressed even the skeptical ground commander. The mountain terrain created complex signal reflection patterns that would have confused conventional communication systems. Sarah's protocols automatically adjusted transmission parameters to compensate for these geographical challenges, ensuring that all team elements could maintain contact regardless of their positions relative to the mountains and valleys. Enemy forces were actively searching for the downed pilot, using both ground patrols and electronic surveillance equipment to track potential rescue efforts. Sarah's communication techniques made their transmissions virtually invisible to enemy detection systems, allowing the extraction team to coordinate their approach without revealing their positions or intentions. The first significant test of Sarah's capabilities came when the ground team encountered unexpected enemy resistance near the extraction coordinates. Conventional communication protocols would have required lengthy coordination procedures that could have compromised the mission timeline. Sarah's adaptive systems allowed for immediate tactical adjustments without breaking communication security. She coordinated air support requests with remarkable efficiency, managing simultaneous contact with multiple aircraft while maintaining secure links to ground forces and command headquarters. Her ability to process multiple information streams and relay critical data demonstrated the sophisticated multitasking skills that her critics had questioned during the briefing. The downed pilot's location had been compromised by enemy search activities, requiring modification of the original extraction plan. Sarah's real-time communication capabilities allowed for immediate coordination of alternative approaches, preventing potential disaster when the primary landing zone came under enemy fire. Captain Williams found himself grudgingly impressed by Sarah's professional competence under pressure. Her calm voice and precise communication procedures provided stability during chaotic moments when multiple crisis situations developed simultaneously. The communication coordination that might have taken several minutes using conventional methods was accomplished in seconds through her advanced protocols. Weather conditions in the target area were deteriorating rapidly, creating additional challenges for both ground and air operations. Sarah's communication systems included provisions for weather-related signal degradation, automatically adjusting power levels and frequency allocations to maintain contact despite atmospheric interference. The extraction became significantly more complex when intelligence reports revealed additional enemy forces moving toward the rescue site. Sarah coordinated defensive positioning for the ground team while simultaneously directing air support to intercept enemy reinforcements. Her ability to manage these multiple tactical elements impressed even the most skeptical observers. Major Thompson, monitoring communications from the command center, was forced to acknowledge that Sarah's performance exceeded his most optimistic expectations. The sophisticated coordination she was providing would have been impossible using conventional communication approaches, and her innovative techniques were clearly contributing to mission success. The moment of truth arrived when the Blackhawk approached the extraction landing zone. Enemy forces had positioned anti-aircraft weapons in the area, making the rescue attempt extremely dangerous. Sarah's communication protocols allowed for precise coordination between the helicopter crew, ground security teams, and air support elements during the critical landing phase. As the aircraft descended toward the landing zone, Sarah maintained simultaneous contact with multiple elements of the operation. Her voice remained calm and professional as she relayed targeting information to air support while coordinating defensive positions for the ground team. The complexity of information management she was handling would have overwhelmed traditional communication systems. Enemy fire erupted around the landing zone as the Blackhawk touched down. Sarah's communication became even more critical as she coordinated suppressive fire from air support while directing the ground team's movements toward the aircraft. Her ability to process battlefield information and relay tactical updates proved invaluable during these intense moments. The wounded pilot was successfully loaded onto the aircraft under heavy enemy fire. Sarah's communication coordination had enabled the ground team to establish effective defensive positions, while air support suppressed enemy resistance. The extraction that might have failed using conventional approaches succeeded because of her innovative communication management. During the emergency takeoff, enemy forces attempted to track the departing aircraft using radar and electronic surveillance. Sarah's frequency hopping protocols made the helicopter virtually invisible to enemy detection systems, allowing them to escape the area without revealing their flight path or destination. The return flight provided time for reflection on what had transpired during the mission. Captain Williams openly acknowledged that Sarah's contribution had been crucial to their success. Her communication capabilities had transformed a potentially disastrous operation into a textbook example of successful extraction under hostile conditions. The ground team leader, Lieutenant Rodriguez, radioed his appreciation for Sarah's professional support during the operation. Her ability to coordinate multiple tactical elements while maintaining communication security had enabled his team to accomplish their objectives without casualties. The real-time intelligence and coordination she had provided exceeded anything he had experienced in previous operations. Colonel Harrison monitored the mission progress from the command center, watching as Sarah's communication protocols enabled seamless coordination between all elements of the operation. The success of the extraction validated his decision to override the prejudiced objections raised during the briefing and assign personnel based on actual capabilities rather than irrelevant personal characteristics. As the Blackhawk approached forward operating base Phoenix, Sarah began shutting down her communication systems and preparing equipment for post-mission analysis. The successful operation would provide valuable data for improving future communication protocols and training procedures. Her performance had demonstrated the effectiveness of innovative approaches to complex tactical challenges. The landing at the base was witnessed by many of the officers who had questioned Sarah's qualifications during the briefing. The successful return of both the extraction team and the rescued pilot provided concrete evidence that merit-based personnel decisions produced superior operational results compared to assignments based on traditional prejudices. Medical personnel immediately began treating the wounded pilot, while debriefing teams prepared to analyze every aspect of the successful mission. The communication logs would show that Sarah's protocols had prevented several potential crisis situations and enabled tactical flexibility that proved crucial to mission success. In the days following the extraction, detailed analysis revealed the full extent of Sarah's contribution to the operation's success. Her communication techniques had prevented enemy detection, enabled real-time tactical adjustments, and provided coordination capabilities that exceeded the performance of conventional military communication systems. The officers who had mocked her during the briefing were forced to confront the reality that their prejudiced assumptions had been completely wrong. Sarah's performance had demonstrated professional competence that surpassed many of their own contributions to military operations. The success of the mission became a powerful example of how diversity and merit-based evaluation could enhance operational effectiveness. Colonel Harrison's decision to put Sarah in the Blackhawk had proven to be tactically sound and strategically valuable. The mission's success provided a template for future operations while establishing new standards for communication coordination in hostile environments. More importantly, it demonstrated that true military leadership required looking beyond surface characteristics to identify and utilize genuine capabilities. The extraction mission became a turning point not only for Sarah's career, but for the unit's understanding of professional competence and effective leadership. What had begun with mockery and prejudice had concluded with undeniable proof that merit-based evaluation and inclusive practices produced superior military outcomes. Sarah's subsequent assignments reflected her demonstrated expertise and proven performance under pressure. The officers who had initially questioned her capabilities became some of her strongest advocates, having witnessed firsthand how wrong their initial assessments had been. The successful mission had transformed attitudes and established new standards for professional evaluation within the unit. The broader implications extended far beyond a single extraction operation. Sarah's success demonstrated that innovation and expertise could emerge from unexpected sources, and that organizations benefited when leaders had the courage to make decisions based on actual qualifications rather than traditional assumptions. Colonel Harrison's leadership had created an environment where excellence could flourish regardless of personal characteristics that had nothing to do with professional competence. The story of the briefing room mockery and subsequent mission success became legendary within military circles, serving as a powerful example of how true leadership required the wisdom to recognize talent and the courage to defend merit-based decisions against popular prejudice. The extraction mission had saved one pilot's life while teaching invaluable lessons about leadership, competence, and the importance of evaluating people based on their actual capabilities rather than irrelevant personal characteristics.